Welcome into the WQAD podcast room. It's been a little while since we've had a chance to do a podcast, but that's because, as we always say, we have been extremely busy.
Very.
Over the last month, we've done 32 high school previews. We have started high school football and the score on Friday nights. We started a Cy-Hawk Saturday morning football show, and
College
the Score
football,
Sunday
the Score
has also
Sunday's
started.
back. Yeah.
So we've had a lot of things going on. So we are ready to give you some new content finally.
Yeah, a lot of stuff to talk
so,
about.
I think if we're going to start this, let's talk college football first, and let's talk about the Cy-Hawk, because that was just a week ago. I know it's going to be a little bit outdated, whatever, but it was a fun experience. So Iowa State. It is the Super Bowl of Iowa football games for college teams in Iowa, because all eyes are on that game. This year it seemed like everybody was in Ames for the game.
Yeah.
Big noon kickoff.
Yeah, big noon kickoff was there. It was kind of cool to see those guys standing on the sidelines. It was my first trip ever to Jack Trice Stadium. I've been covering the Cy-Hawk game for 25 years, and first I've ever been to Jack Trice, so it was pretty cool. I will say, though, you go to the wide shot on this one.
Okay, I'm ready.
Jenna, you and I got up there at 8:30 in the morning. We left at 5:50 in the morning to get up there on time.
I had 2 hours of sleep.
Yep.
I took a nap for bed.
I had
that was my night's rest.
I had 4 hours of sleep, maybe 5 if
we combined for less than the recommended for a
We got up to Iowa State in Ames and parked our car at the filling station, which is, I think, just 2 miles away from the stadium. From that filling station, gas station, to our parking lot, it took us an hour and a half because the traffic was atrocious.
So bad, just a standstill.
So bad. We almost didn't make it to do the Cy-Hawk show at Raina, but we made it.
We did,
We made it, and then we got to see a football game between the Hawkeyes and the Cyclones. It was a fantastic game. If you like a low-scoring defensive struggle, which it always seems to be when it's a Cy-Hawk game. But it was fun. Iowa State won. What did you think of the game?
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I will admit, I was very tired. I feel like I was kind of in cruise control for the day, you know, so I wasn't super critically thinking. It was just kind of like, you know, just like rolling with my instincts with the game. But it was really fun to watch. I was impressed with Iowa's defense, because going into this game, I mean, you see both teams, you know, Iowa State is ranked. It's always a close battle with the teams, right? But I did expect to see a little bit more out of Iowa State's offense, so I am really impressed with Iowa's defense to be able to hold them like they did. I do think it's very poetic that the winning points came again off of Kyle Conradi's foot, and it was both years it was a 54-yarder.
54-yarder, yes.
Again, not as exciting as it was the year before, because again, he kicked it as, you know, to like win it right there last year, but it was a very enjoyable game. It was fun. I enjoyed Jack Trice Stadium. I thought it was really nice. Yeah, that's all my notes on it. Yeah, it was a fun time.
Hot take. I know maybe Iowa fans are going to like this. I actually enjoyed Jack Trice Stadium.
Oh, yeah,
maybe
it was nice.
A little bit more than Iowa.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that maybe it didn't get as loud.
That's my thing.
Because the fans are sitting right on top of you at Kinnick.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit more spread out. But I thought the atmosphere overall was really cool atmosphere in Ames.
Yeah, I think the stadium itself was really nice. Again, it's like it almost gives the effect of there being a lot more people there just because of how spread out it is. And again, the atmosphere is cool, but I do like how loud it gets at Kinnick, because again, the fans are like right there. So that atmosphere is cool in its own way as well. But yeah, I did really enjoy Jack Trice Stadium. I thought it was really nice.
Iowa still has a better tradition with the wave.
Oh, absolutely.
Than what was it? What's the thing they did in the fourth quarter? The
jelly
juicy something.
Juicy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Which was still pretty cool.
They had a whole dance. Everyone was doing it.
They do a dance to it. It's really cool, but I still think the wave was 100 times better.
Absolutely.
100 times better, for sure. Now, as far as the game goes for me, I will agree that Iowa's defense played really well.
Yeah.
Considering Iowa State scored 55 points the week before, albeit against South Dakota, but they still put up 55 points. I thought Iowa would have problems with Iowa State's tight ends. They did a little bit, but not to the extent that I thought it was going to be. The one thing that if you look at that game that I think is a big disappointment, Iowa's offense.
Yeah.
And say what you will, Hawkeye fans, that offense needs a lot of work.
Yeah, I do think, obviously I agree with you. I do think the offense needs a lot of work. I do think there was some positive strides from Mark Gronowski. I think he seemed a little bit more comfortable than he did
I agree.
the week prior. And again, there's obviously still a lot of work to do. I'm not saying he had like a fantastic performance because again, he only threw for 83 yards and like he rushed for 37 and a touchdown, right? Like I know we're still looking for improvement from him, right? But I think you could see that he was more comfortable and more in his zone than he was in their season opener. So I think that's a positive to take away if you're a Hawkeye fan, just my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm. Jonah, you were at their press conference this past week. As they get ready for their game against UMass, what was the take from the Iowa perspective after losing that game?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say, I know you guys only got like a little bit of sleep, but I'm still jealous. I wish I could go with you guys. Oh, man. I love being on the road and being in those environments.
You got to cover cross-country instead, though.
That was great, too. That was great. I will admit, the Spartan Challenge was a close set.
Jack Trice, though.
It was not. But you're asking me about their thoughts on the offense. So, Caden Weegent, still he's obviously going to back his quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. And they're not going to bash him. And I think they still have faith in him. Mm-hmm. And it's just a matter of, like they said, the injury for Mark Gronowski in the offseason, they said that you have to factor that in. And it's only 2 games in. So he's still getting comfortable. He's still getting accustomed to everything. But in my opinion, they still have faith. They're still confident, but it needs to show some strides. That's just my. I do
think too. You mentioned Caden Weegent. I really liked what he said in that scrum because I was watching. The interviews you got saying that it's like they know Mark Gronowski on a personal level. Obviously, we don't. And
right.
I think from what the vibe that we got even from Iowa Football Media Day is that they trust him as a human being.
Yes,
he seems like a really good person and a good leader, and he's earned their respect. And even if, again, he's still recovering from that injury, he's trying to get back in the flow of things. It's like, they see him just for him as a person, and they know that he's going to continue making those strides. And I think having that trust part is really going to help with that too.
They really couldn't get the run game going either.
Yeah.
It was tough.
Against Iowa State.
Yeah.
And credit Iowa State's front line. I mean, the front four that they had played really well. They had 2 sacks at the end of the game. The Iowa State defense did to kind of seal the deal for them. But you got to see something out of Iowa. And UMass may be a fix because they're going to be better than UMass. Mm-hmm. So they're going to go out there. They may run for 250 yards against UMass. Take that for what it is, though. It's not Indiana. It's not going to be in Oregon. It's not. So this game, Iowa should win. Iowa should win by 30 points against UMass. If they don't, maybe a little concern there. But the next week against Indiana at home on homecoming, that's going to be their test. Yeah. How much improvement do you see from when they played week 1 against UAlbany to the game against Indiana? I think that's going to be your true test because these first 2 of the 3 non-cons between UAlbany and UMass, those are wins. Mm-hmm. You have to win. You have to blow the teams out, and they should do that. That game against Indiana, if you see improvement, can Gronowski complete the passes he needs to make because he was throwing it short, he was throwing behind receivers, he wasn't making them. Can the running backs get going? Mm-hmm. If that can happen, that Iowa offense will be, I guess, useful. And they'll be able to do the things that they need to do.
And hopefully this UMass game can be, again, a good learning point for them.
Yes.
Their 3rd game, I feel like that they should be able to learn a lot about themselves as a team to help with those Indiana games, the Oregon game, stuff like that,
And I asked Caden Weegent, is there urgency right now? Mm-hmm. And he said flat out, yes. Like, we know this is not up to our standards because you guys saw the wide receivers had some key drops too. It wasn't just Gronowski.
Yeah.
And so I think you mentioned Indiana. I think, UMass, they should be able to run on them. But even if they have rushing success, people are not going to be happy unless they see something from the passing game. So that's going to be the key thing. And it's just, I say, week 1, first game jitters, okay? I get it. Mm-hmm. Week 2, Iowa State has a really good defense. They've talked, the Hawkeyes have talked about how their secondary, they leave a lot back. They have their secondary, they bring guys back, and so it's tough to really get a downfield passing game going. So face a tough defense in week 2. Now in week 3, the excuses are kind of, gone. So you got to show something here.
And here's the thing with that is, yes, you want to see something out of Gronowski. I think in 2 games he's got like 132 yards or something like that, which is Iowa's offense overall ranks 119 out of 133 teams, I think, or 34 teams, whatever it is. Not good, period. But Iowa's going to start this game, and they're going to take a lead. you don't need to run it up by throwing the ball all over the place, even though Mark does need the practice and does need to have those reps, game-like reps. But at the same time, Kirk Ferentz knows that I can continue to run the ball.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a hard balance there. Do you throw with them early, take that lead early by throwing the ball, and then you're only running the ball? Because late in the game, they're just going to run it.
Right.
Because at that point,
So,
they should be up 30.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a hard balance.
Get them going
Yeah.
early, you know?
Yes.
Get that confidence
Yes,
going.
get them going early, but I know they want to establish the run because that's what Iowa does. They've always been a run-first team. Again, Mark Gronowski's a good quarterback. I'm not saying he's not.
Yeah.
But it's hard to do when you're blowing a team out because you don't want to be like, oh, they're running the game up on it. And Kirk Ferentz isn't that kind of guy to run a game up on somebody. So will they win this game? Yes. Hopefully there's more improvement across the board for them. Iowa's defense, though,
Oh, yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Rocco Becht.
I know they gave up 19 points, but they only gave
16,
up one.
yeah.
16 points. I'm sorry, but they only gave up one touchdown,
Yeah.
which that's impressive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, any other details on Iowa or their defense or anything? No?
No,
All right.
I'm good.
Let's move on. Let's talk about Illinois. Let's go down to Champaign.
Yes.
The world is awesome in Champaign right now.
Yeah.
Everything is
No,
great.
I mean, sunshine and roses and rainbows, and we just got $100 million donated to name a new stadium, the Geese Memorial Stadium now. Wow, amazing for them. Illinois is ranked 9th in the country right now. Last time they were ranked that high was 2001. That's 24 years. You guys, were you born?
I was born in September 2001.
Okay,
so
I don't remember the year or the week that it was, so
Yeah.
maybe you were, maybe you weren't born, but either way,
Oh my gosh.
that's how long it's been since Illinois
Yeah.
has been this good, and people are excited about the Illini right now.
Absolutely.
A huge win. I remember when I went down to Media Day, they said, I asked, what's of the non-cons, which is the one you guys have to focus on early to win? They said Duke. We have to go to Duke and beat Duke, because that's a game that we're supposed to win. That's a game we have to go down there and show we can win.
Yeah.
The first half, people may have been like, I don't know if this Illinois team's for real. But I tell you what, that second half, wow,
Unreal.
they are extremely for real.
Yeah.
And that's why they're ranked 9th in the country, because it was a great win on the road. And now they come home and they play another cupcake, potentially a cupcake in Western Michigan. But again, a game they need to win. Illinois has some really good things going on right now.
Oh, yeah, and I think it was so exciting because, again, we're at that Cy-Hawk game, but, of course, like, I'm getting the Illinois notifications, paying attention, and then you see, Luke Altmaier touchdown pass to Cole Rusk, and I'm like, okay, like, that's awesome. It's so good to see him back out there. For him to get that touchdown pass, that's exciting. He's going to be, obviously, a big piece for the Illini. And then you see a little bit later, Matthew Bailey forces a fumble. It's just so cool to see our local guys there really thriving and doing some stuff. So that's really cool to see. And, I'll be at the Western Michigan game this weekend, so very excited to see them in person, And, yeah, because obviously it's a little hard to watch the games when we're out doing stuff, so it'd be cool to actually, be there and, like, fully focus on watching them play. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
This is something that Illinois has been building towards ever
Yep.
since I got Brett Bielema. When Josh Whitman took over, it's hard to believe it's been 10 years since he's been athletic director. But when he took over, he's like, hey, we're going to have the top coaches. We're going to have the top teams. We're going to contend for titles. Those are the things he wanted to do. So far, all of his programs are doing well. They're competing for Big Ten championships. Not national championships yet, but competing for Big Ten championships. They're moving in the right direction.
Oh, yeah.
They are so moving in the right direction. And I think Brett Bielema has a great attitude about it. They're ranked 9th. He's like, nah, it's great. It doesn't mean anything. Because right now, it's 2 weeks in, 3 weeks into the season.
Yeah.
They could lose a couple games. They're out of the top 10. They're out of the top 20.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, everybody's like, the sky is falling again in Champaign. You never know. But they have a great mentality of this next game is the only game we're focused on, which all teams do. But they're focused on it. They beat Western Michigan. They're going to be ready to play when they go into the Big Ten and get ready to play those games as well.
They have a tough first stretch of Big Ten play because after this Western Michigan game, they're at Indiana, then home USC, Purdue, they should be able to beat, and then Ohio State, number 1 team in the country. So it's a tough first stretch for them, but like we've talked about, they've been really complimentary on all sides. Luke Altmaier has been really impressive, to say the least. 513 yards passing through 2 games, no interceptions, 6 touchdowns, and a 75% completion percentage. So he's got weapons in Hank Beatty, who's been really impressive.
He's really stepped up,
So he's playing like the ultimate, seasoned pro, soon to be pro. Right. I would think so, but just a really good, experienced veteran leader for them as the quarterback. And Matthew Bailey, like they have so many different guys, so many different pieces for them across both sides.
And even Matt Krasenich is getting in it.
Yeah,
a little bit,
special teams, right?
Whenever he can, So it's really good to see our 3 local guys. But again, really good to see. You mentioned it. Really good to see Cole Russ catch that touchdown pass, make an impact in his first game.
Yeah.
Second game technically that he's played, but get that first touchdown says a lot about him. I mean, a year ago he wasn't even on the field, dealing with an ACL injury and everything he had to go through. That's not easy. He already has I don't know what you want to say. He has a good relationship with Luke Altman already.
Yep. They're roommates.
They're roommates.
Yeah.
So they don't have to build that on the field. They already had it off the field. So I'm sure they've practiced that pass in their mind and talked about it for a long time now. So I'm sure that was a really cool moment between the two of those guys to complete that pass. Not only to complete it, but make it for a touchdown. Because the pass was fantastic.
Yes.
The catch was even better.
Yes.
I mean, it was put in the right spot, and he made a great cut. He made a great catch. So really cool to see him do that. Hopefully he continues that. And like you said, Matthew Bailey, he's been making plays since his freshman year. So good to see him do it. No surprise that they're doing that. So they get a win this week. And you mentioned the schedule. When they beat Duke, I said they're going to go undefeated until they play Ohio State. Because they'll go into that game undefeated. That's going to be a huge game. I'm going to say right now that's going to be the Saturday night Big Ten game of the week. It's got to be. It has to be at that point.
It's a home game too.
It's a home game in Champaign. Yep. And that, don't worry, we will be there.
Okay, I was just about to ask.
Absolutely.
We will
Let's go, baby.
Which is something we made the commitment this year. Yeah, go to that white chef. We've made the commitment to cover Iowa at home, cover Illinois at home. So we will be at Iowa and Illinois games this year at home. So keep it locked on WQAD if you want to know all the highlights and everything that's going on at the Illini and the Hawkins. So.
Absolutely.
Anything else about the Illini?
No.
I got nothing.
All right, let's move on to high school football. Hard to believe.
Yeah.
3 weeks into the high school football season already.
It's insane.
A third of the way through the season. As we're shooting this podcast, the games are on the night that we're shooting this. But after that, we are a third of the way done in the regular season. It goes so fast.
I know. It makes me sad that it goes so fast.
So, 3 weeks in. Jonah, I'll start with you. This is your first year with us. What has excited you? What has shocked you? What has surprised you? What's something you're just like, I had no idea about?
I mean, well, you've talked to me about the chaos, but until you experience it firsthand.
And you're talking about the score.
Yes,
itself.
The score, the show. That part is just so fun with the adrenaline rush of coming back, getting everything done. It's chaotic, but once you get it and then you're on the air, it's kind of like, just breathe. Now it's just the fun part, right? So that's been really enjoying. It's just like the challenge of getting back, getting it done, and then once you're on the air, you just get to have fun and call the highlights and chat and eat burgers and brats and whatever. So
and hot dogs.
Yes, and hot dogs for you, Jenna, and cheese for you.
And cheese.
But beyond the show, I just really like we talked about it before, but like being in the atmospheres of these games. The first week was really cool because that's when the excitement is at the highest, where everyone's been eager to get back at these games, and especially the kids themselves. So I think that was really cool. I was at the Wilton game, my first game before it rained out, and the energy was great there. And then last week I was at the Fulton game, and I loved the steamboat after each touchdown. And it was just, like I said, the atmospheres were really great.
Now let me ask you, coming from Arizona, was high school sports as big as it is here, or the way things are happening here?
So, in my personal experience, I don't think high school football was as big as it is here, and maybe that's just because Phoenix is just a bigger metro area, and there's a lot more things going on a Friday night. But here, you guys can correct me, but like football seems like the thing to go to on a Friday night, and so I think that's just been really cool, is seeing people come up to us at the grocery stores and saying, hey, we watch you guys Friday nights. And so it's just cool to be a part of something that people really watch and care about, you know?
And what he's talking about is on Fridays, obviously we grill out, so we have to go buy we have to go buy the food.
Yes.
Sometimes we go to Fairway, sometimes we go to Meathead, sometimes we go to other stores. But any store we go to, people are always asking, "Oh, hey, what are you guys grilling tonight? Who's your griller?" I've had referees asking on the sidelines, like, "Hey, who's your griller tonight? What are you guys grilling?" So it's kind of cool that it's really catching on with everybody. It's a lot of fun for us. But yeah, it's a different beast for sure. Because you got to experience basketball, completely different from what basketball is. I mean, basketball is a little bit. It's not as chaotic. I'll say that.
Yeah.
It's controlled chaos still, but it's not as chaotic. Football, especially the first week, which you brought up. Thank you, James O'Hara.
The weather delays were insane.
The weather was terrible. Rain just sat on top of us. We lost 5 games. We still made it work. We go 45 minutes, which is more than any other station does.
Just to give viewers an insight into that Friday, I didn't get back into the newsroom until 9:50, and I had to edit all of my stuff. Like, it's insane when it's like raining and stuff. Like, that was insane.
And we were on the air at 10:15.
Yep.
So you had 25 minutes essentially, or less technically.
Yeah, because I had to get out there. So.
But for us, it is a lot of fun. So far, we've had some really cool guest grillers. In case you've missed them. Week 1, we had Kevin Rudd from the Quad City Steamwheelers. Great guy. Got to talk about his key connections that he has, his brand. Grilled up. I think he had, was he burgers?
Yeah, he just had burgers and hot dogs.
Yeah, burgers. Oh, that's what it was. He wanted hot dogs, and then we made some burgers, which was great for you.
I know.
You mentioned the burgers and brats and then hot dogs.
Yeah.
3-shot here.
Okay.
Sorry. Jenna.
Yes.
She's awesome. We love her. She's great.
Oh no, this is gonna go bad, isn't it?
But
no.
It's like we love her, but
she does not eat hamburgers.
I don't.
She does not eat brats. She does not eat red meat.
But I like hot dogs.
But she likes hot dogs.
There's got to be something.
Of all the food and processed meat, it's hot dogs?
Hear me out. If I'm at a barbecue, there's got to be something for me to eat, right?
I agree.
So, I mean, I just always liked hot dogs, and I just choose not to think about what a hot dog really is. I don't think. There's got to be something for me, and that's just what I do.
So we make sure, now this week we didn't, but we make sure each week that we have hot dogs for Jenna.
Yes.
And we have the party cheese
cheese pat
for Jenna. Because if you ever catch Jenna not being ready to talk, it's probably because she's eating cheese on the set. And I'm not lying about that. She really is eating cheese on the set.
Because we don't eat all day. We're out shooting games, and God forbid a girl gets hungry during the football show, right?
And wants to eat a little cheese.
A little bit of cheese in between
You can't blame her.
It is perfectly fine. No, we all eat a little bit. It's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
It is all good. But it is a lot of fun standing at the grill, calling highlights, and doing all that kind of stuff. This week, our guest griller is Joe Marino. He is the race director of the Quad City Marathon, the Firecracker Run, and the Freedom Run, and I'm sure he dabbles with a couple other races along the way. He's just not the race director. Mm-hmm. So he is coming on tonight. We've got a ton of brats for week 3, so it's going to be a lot of fun, and hot dogs.
Yeah.
And cheese curds, because we couldn't find a cheese party.
Yeah, we do have cheese curds.
So we have cheese curds. So for you, what's been the most fun for you in your second year of doing the score?
Oh my gosh. That's a hard question. I love everything about it. Like, I don't think there's something that I don't love about Friday nights. Or just the Fridays. I guess I've enjoyed doing Score on the road with you because that's a new thing for me. So Cuff and I get here at 10 a.m. and we're live in GMQC at 11, and we talk. You know, we go to a school like today. The day we're shooting this podcast, Rockridge and Riverdale are playing. It's a huge game. They're both 2-0. So we were at Rockridge, which was fun. You know, talking to Colin Schweigen, the Steel Twins. You know, coach, just like talking to everyone, and just that's really fun. I do enjoy that. So that's different than last year, but I just love shooting football. I love going out there. And, you know, Jonah talking about the atmosphere, especially those small schools, man, they get into it. And it's so fun. Like, I love going far away, like an hour out to some of those small schools and just seeing what they're up to and how into it they get. Like, I was just at Monmouth Roseville last week, and I love going out there for a football game. Love going to Wilton. They're a lot of fun, too. So just seeing all of that. But again, it's just, we haven't talked for so long. Like, I feel like I have so many stories and stuff on this podcast I want to share. There is one. Can I take us back to the football previews very quickly?
Sure.
So, it's always fun shooting the football previews, right? Like, there's a lot of ones that really stood out that were a lot of fun. But I want to talk about the Riverdale Rams for a second. I think I told you guys, maybe I've told both of you guys this story. But it was a Saturday morning practice, so I'm there at, like 8 or 9 in the morning, right? And the end of the practice, Guy Dierks does this thing with them where he makes them earn their decals. And he's like, I want you guys to have this many rushing yards this year, so you guys are going to run that many yards right now. So they started at the goal line and, like, ran to the 5, ran back, ran to the 10, ran back, all the way down the field and back the last, like, half hour of practice, okay?
That's brutal.
You know, once it's hot outside, they get to the halfway point, they take the pads and the helmets off to make it a little bit easier. And they're exhausted. I mean, obviously, right? And then they're getting to the end of it, and it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. So they all start holding hands because they're like, we're in this together. You know, they're like their slowest runner, they're all running together. They're not leaving anyone behind, right? So they're all holding hands and running. And I was like, oh, that's sweet. Like, you know, they're really together, right? And then, you know, they're all tired. They start singing. So they're all holding hands, singing, like, Unwritten or, like, Party in the USA. And they're just running through it, holding hands. And I'm like, this might be the best thing, like, I've ever seen. Because, like, you know, you can tell when a team is close. Just their vibe. And you guys will probably attest to that doing all these previews. But that might be the closest football team I've ever seen. Like, to see them do something like that and see how much they really care about each other and how close they really are together, that was just so fun to see. And that's what it's like, that's what I love about our job is, like, we get to see those moments of, like, you know, it's not just like, oh, it's a football team. You know, it's like you get to really see the players and, like, how they interact with each other and the cool stories between them. And it's just, it's so fun. So that was something that really stood out in the football previews that I wanted to talk about on the podcast because I think it's a fun story. And it's just, and so, you know, with Riverdale starting out 2-0, I wasn't shocked at all because with how close they are, I'm not surprised it's translating out on the field. And they're hungry. They barely missed out on the playoffs last year. They want to get to that point. And so, yeah, I'm not shocked at all that they've had a great start to their season. So, yeah, that was just a cool story that I wanted to share because I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I was going to say that definitely correlates into where they're at.
Obviously, absolutely.
Being 2-0, they have a huge game against Rockridge in week 3. They're both 2-0. That game is going to be a really, really fun game. Make sure if you see us before we do the score on that Friday, the 12th, make sure you tune in that night because we will have complete coverage of that game. Somebody will be live. Either Sam Graves will be live with a talkback, or we will talk to Guy Garrix and a couple players after they win the game. So it should be a really, really good game. A couple other teams early on that have impressed. Sterling Newman.
Yeah.
2-0, big win in week 1 over Princeton. Huge win, a team that's bigger than them, the biggest school in the track. And then they go on the road. They had a little problems with Mendota, but they did win. So they're 2-0. They're one of the top teams in the state. I believe they're a top 5 team in Class 1A right now. Stockton had a big win. They're kind of a borderline fringe team for us. Okay. They did beat Lena Winslow. Lena Winslow is like the team of the teams in Class 1A, and they beat them. And that was a big win, an eye-opening win for them. So that was a pretty good win for them. United Township.
Yeah.
Off to a 2-0 start. Everybody had high hopes for United Township, high expectations. They returned so many players on the offensive side and defensive side of the ball. They are 2-0. They beat, in week 1, they finally beat LaSalle Peru for the first time since 1984.
Yeah.
And then in week 2, they beat Chicago Mushin, I think 55 or 56-0. But they opened up Big 6 play with Galesburg.
Yeah, and I got to mention, too, we're talking about UT. You got to talk about Isaiah Navarrete just really quickly. He has 6 touchdowns already, 2 games. So, yeah, he's going off. UT is just so much fun to watch. When I went to their scrimmage, they were, what, was it Davenport? North, yeah. And just watching UT, I was like, you could just tell from the scrimmage. It's like, they're going to be really good. So they're a lot of fun to watch. I actually get to shoot their game. They're playing at Galesburg. I'm going to be there. So I'm really excited to see that matchup.
So they're off to a 2-0 start in the Big 6. Geneseo beat Assumption in week 2. They're 1-1. They play Rocky.
That was a big one,
Moline had a tough loss in week 1. Had a good win in week 2 over Sycamore. They're 1-1 playing at Sterling, who is also 1-1. Alleman, good to see them back.
Yeah, and to get a win week 1. Yeah.
They won in week 1 over Walther Christian. Make sure I get that right.
Yes.
It was a good win for them. Had a tough game in week 2 against Dwight. They're at Quincy, so they're on the road, so a tough game for them. And then I think is that all of them? I think that's all of them. So that's kind of what the Big 6 schedule is. Any other teams out there that kind of impressed you guys, or anything on the Iowa side? We haven't even gone there yet.
I was just, before we get to Iowa, how about our back-to-back score standouts from Monmouth Roseville?
Yeah,
right?
I know.
First time I've ever had that, where I've had to do an off-the-cuff at the same school with the same team with different players.
Yeah.
So last week it was Elliott Rogers. This week it was Landon Montroy.
Yeah, which I gotta say, I was at that Monmouth Roseville game, and when I came back, the first thing I said to Brian Stocking, I sat down, I said, you got to find the stats on Landon Montroy because he was going off when I was there. And he was like, okay, I'll look for it.
I am just excited that you went to a Monmouth-Roseville game.
And didn't get trucked.
Didn't get trucked.
Didn't get a concussion.
That was fantastic. Thank you for that.
Yes, I was
But
careful.
if you missed that off the cuff with Landon Montroy.
Oh, he was great.
He was funny.
He was great.
I'll have to watch.
That might be one of my favorite off-the-cuffs you've ever done.
He was a good one.
He said he would want to be an astronaut if he could do any of the professions.
If he had a job for one day, you could have any job. If you could do one job for one day, what would you want to do? And he said, I want to be an astronaut.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
He had really good answers.
Yeah.
Really, really good off the cuff. So that was a fun one to do. All right, let's talk about the Iowa side because there's a lot of good things happening on the Iowa side. Week 1 was a tough week for games. A lot of games got postponed or delayed, whatever, because of the rain. One of those games was the Bettendorf PV game. It was supposed to be played that night. It got pushed to 9 o'clock that next morning. Thank you, everyone. That was a fun game to cover. It was a good game, actually. I only got to stay for a quarter, unfortunately.
The sass.
It was just an early game after a late night.
I know.
PV finally broke the streak, beat Bettendorf for the first time in, I think, 3 years or whatever it was, beat them 24-17. So big win for them to start the season. Then went on the road in week 2 to Cedar Falls and then lost to Cedar Falls. So they're 1-1 as they get ready to play Iowa City West in week 3. But a lot of good things out of PV. A lot of questions going in. They lost Harrison Fierce. They lost so many seniors that contributed last year. But they have had a lot step up this year so far. So PV's in good shape, and Rusty's got that team playing at a high level once again. Bettendorf did get a bounce back win in week 2. They were at home against Iowa City High, and they won that game. North Scott 1-1 as well under head coach Tony Stewart. So they're having a decent season to this point. I don't think there's anybody that's really 2-0, kind of standing out big, right? Or you got one?
I was just gonna say last night, Clinton became 2-1.
That's true.
Yeah.
Clinton is off
That's
to a
great
really
for
good
them
start.
Yeah,
after
that
last
is
season.
really good for them.
Did you see how they won?
Yeah.
A missed field goal.
Missed field goal. They held on to it
Yes, I saw that.
2017 over Cedar Rapids, Washington.
So a really good road win for them. Hopefully that builds a little bit of confidence for them and keeps them going in the right direction.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Yeah, that's great for them.
Obviously, right now, I'm going to say this. It means a lot, but the games don't mean a lot because you're not into district play.
Right.
All that matters is getting into district. And actually in Class 5A, I believe they only take the top 16 teams anyway. So a win's a win. But they got to get some wins against some good opponents, higher ranked opponents, because it all comes down to RPI.
Yeah.
But if they continue to win, they potentially
and again, them going through their first 3 games and being 2-1, yeah, it's really good for them.
Very good for them, that's for sure. We have the Battle of Bryan Stocking in week 3.
Yeah.
And that's a game you get to cover, Jonah. It is Davenport West and Davenport Central playing each other. I think they need to somehow come up with a Bryan Stocking trophy.
Oh my
That
gosh.
would be
Would
amazing.
it be, okay, hear me out. If it's a Bryan Stocking trophy, would it be like his face, or what would the trophy be?
So one year we did when we were doing a podcast, and we did a podcast for both sides of the river.
Yeah.
We asked the Davenport School District, all 3 schools, make us a fat head of Bryan Stocking and bring it to the game.
Oh my God.
We will find you. We'll get a shot of you. We'll put you on TV.
Can we do that again?
We'll call you out. Yes. Davenport School District, if you hear us,
this is
make
our
a fat head of Bryan Stocking.
Please.
I'll be on the lookout tonight.
Bring it with you. It might be too late for tonight.
Yeah.
But at some point this season, make a fat head of Bryan Stocking. Bring it with you to the game. Hold it up. Let us know you're there. We will definitely
get it.
You will be our fan of the night. Guaranteed. You will be our fan of the night. It was really cool when they did it the one year.
That would be
really
so
cool.
fun.
But this
I want a whole. I just want like 10 fat heads of Bryan Stocking.
He loves the Davenport School District.
And he's a substitute teacher at both of those schools, right?
Rightfully so. Well, eventually all 3 of them he does. But yes. So yeah, that's why I joke and say it's the Bryan Stocking game. It's not. It's part of the city championship that they like to say between them and everything. So should be a fun game at Brady Street Stadium between West and Central. So we'll see who come out on top of that.
And I know, again, I did Central's preview, and I know a big goal that Alex Berg and the team has is they want to win their Davenport games. They want to be the top of the city games. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a lot of high stakes, fun stuff.
We also have the backyard brawl going on.
Yeah, Durant and Wilton.
Durant and Wilton should be a fun game.
That's
2 schools,
exciting.
5 yards apart. That's your game tonight. That's the first one you get to go to. Is the backyard brawl.
I love that name.
That's
cool.
Well,
it's cool because Durant's 2-0. Wilton's 1-1, but they did have a really tough game to start out against Iowa City Regina.
Yep.
So I think it's definitely going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm jealous. That's going to be a fun one, Jonah.
Tony Stewart doing a great job up in North Scott. They are currently 1-1. They play Pella in week 3. Tough start to the season for them. They had to weather the storm.
They didn't get on the field till like 9:10, 9:15 that night.
It was a rough night
because that was my game.
But then they went on the road in week 2 and got a nice win. That kind of helps cure things a little bit. And then Assumption's 0-2, but they've had a tough start to the season. We're on the road week 1, then played Geneseo in a kind of a cool cross river game.
Iron Bowl.
The Iron Bowl. Iron sharpens iron bowl. Yeah. Iron. So it's kind of cool. So they're 0-2, looking to see if they can bounce back in week 3 to kind of get things going. Did we miss anything high school sports-wise?
No, I think
that's it.
I think we got it covered there.
All right, let's move on to the NFL. A lot of football talk, but of course it's that time of year. So let's really quickly talk about some NFL. Week 1.
Week 2
well, my team hasn't played in week 2 yet.
Mine has.
The Bears didn't go too well in week 1. Started great.
Yeah.
I will admit it started great, and again, I'm a very calm Bears fan.
Yeah, which I appreciate.
So, Caleb Williams started 10 for 10, as most people know. Goes right down the field, they score a touchdown, and of course, Bears fans are like, "Oh, this is gonna be the best team ever." Hold on, let's relax.
Yeah.
Let's relax. The Ben Johnson era did not get off on a great start after that. They lost to Minnesota, a tough way to lose at home when there was so much hype, so much excitement. Doesn't mean the season's over. Okay,
yeah.
It doesn't mean the season's over. They play the Lions in week 2.
Again, I'm excited to see. To see that.
It's going to be a tough game. I don't care that they lost Ben Johnson. They don't care they lost their defensive coordinator from last year. Dan Campbell's still the coach. I'm sure Detroit fans were thinking, "What the heck happened to our team after losing in week 1 to Green Bay?" But I think this is going to be a good game. Do I expect the Bears to win it? I really don't. I really don't. I mean, when we did the schedules, I did say 8-9 or 9-8 was going to be the Bears' season, right? So far, I'm okay where they're at right now. So that's me with the Bears.
Yeah, I will say
go ahead.
very quickly about the Bears.
As a Packer fan, so rich of you.
Well, no, but I went to B-Dubs for Monday Night Football to watch the game. And I just threw on a hoodie. It was an Illinois hoodie. Didn't think anything about it. Walked in, see all the Bears fans. I said, "Oh my God, I'm wearing Bears colors." As a Packers fan, I was like, it was horrible.
It's the reason they lost.
But like I walked in, I was like,
there was a lot of fans there.
No, yeah, there was. There's people. They were going crazy in the Moline B-Dubs. I'll tell you.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I was wearing the orange and blue, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like this is horrible." As a Packers fan, this is the worst thing I could have done. Like it was rough. But what were you gonna say about?
I was gonna say, well, I'll let you talk about your Packers real quick. They've already played 2 games. Look
at
you gloating,
gleaming
over there.
I am. We'll talk about fantasy football later.
Yes.
But I made a stupid decision.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about your Packers first.
Very excited with how they're starting the season. There's a lot of positives. I don't know. I think Jordan Love looks good. Really excited about Tucker Kraft. I feel like he's been doing a lot of good stuff. I don't know. I'm
trying to caveat. Remember that name, folks. Tucker Kraft. Go on.
Yeah.
Go on.
That's some foreshadowing for later. So sad. Anyway. Trying to remember. It's been we've done so much football. Like, what even were my takeaways from the Lions game? I was just glad that it was as like big of a victory as it was. I mean, I think they looked really solid, and it's just. I mean, I feel like you get some confidence when your team has a confident win like that. So, and then the Commanders game too, obviously was fun to watch as well. So, just excited to see what the Packers are doing. I think they look really good, and I'm excited to see.
Would you say that they are the favorite to win the NFC North after you've seen them play 2 games? Be a realistic Packers fan.
No, I am a realistic Packers fan. I don't think I'm an over the top. I feel like if you work in like the sports media, I feel like you're very like chill about your teams. Like obviously I'm a big Packers fan. I mess around with it, but like I'm going to be unbiased when I look at that. I do think the Packers look good. I'm not dumb enough to go and say that I think they're going to win the NFC North and be like division favorites just because I know how tough that division is. I think they look really good. I think they're going to be in contention for it. I want to see a little bit more from the Vikings first. Just seeing, again, how they came back. You saw J.J. McCarthy do some stuff. I kind of want to see where they're at before I make a very like, the Packers are going to win the NFC North. I'm not just going to blindly go and say that. I do think, again, after this week 1 and seeing the Packers play a second game, right now I'd have to say between the Packers and Vikings. Not just because those are the 2 teams that got the wins, but because I think they had the most solid performances, if that makes sense. I'm not going to count the Lions out. I feel like, obviously, they didn't look great against the Packers, but again, it's week 1, and I do think the Packers look good, but that's not to say the Lions can't figure some stuff out and come back stronger. And just the Bears. I just don't trust them to not choke, which sounds bad. Again, I'm trying to say that as not as a Packers fan.
I understand it.
But just like a football fan in general. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Packers fan, but I just think the Bears really got to work on some stuff as an organization, because I feel like it's the same stuff every year. All my Bears friends, it's just the same thing, and it's like, I don't know. I just can't trust the Bears. But I do think right now the NFC North race could be between the Packers and the Vikings is where I'm at. That was a very long answer.
I will say this, Johnny, before we ask you your thing real quick about your team. The Bears have to clean up mistakes. You can't have 12 penalties for 120-something yards and expect to win a football game.
Although the Packers did have a lot of penalties in that Commanders game, which wasn't great.
They did. But you can't do that. Those are the little things you got to clean up. Caleb Williams has to get more accurate with his passing.
Yeah.
You can't miss DJ Moore by 15 yards and throw it out of bounds when he's wide open for a potential touchdown. You can't throw behind receivers. You can't throw over receivers. So there's a lot of work to be done. Do I think Caleb Williams can be be Yeah. I agree. But he's got a lot of work ahead of him still. Mm-hmm. Can it be done? Yes. Can Ben Johnson help him? Yes. How long will that take? That's the only question.
Exactly.
All right, Jonah, you have 2 teams.
Yes.
So which one would you like to talk about first? Because you are an Arizona fan because that's where you lived and grew up.
Yep.
But you also have a
family ties,
tie. So which one would you like to talk about first?
I'll talk about the Steelers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So even though, they barely squeaked past the Jets, the defense looked terrible at times. Like Justin Fields just ran and threw all over them.
And remember, Bears fans, you had Justin Fields at one time. Go on.
Yeah. By the way, it was so fun just watching you guys yap about your teams for like 5,
I'm so
10
sorry.
minutes. That was great. I do think Packers are like a top 5 team in the league.
I think they're looking really good.
And Bears are bottom 5.
They got optimism there.
They do.
But with the Steelers, though, you look at what happened at division. Bengals didn't look so promising against the Browns. Obviously, Ravens lose a tough one.
Oh my gosh!
The Steelers are right there, 1-0 after a really good sign by Aaron Rodgers. Like
That's wild.
I didn't expect something like that to happen in week 1.
That was so exciting for you, though.
Look at what probably I didn't see the numbers, but Vegas thought this was going to be a low-scoring game between these two teams, and there was no defense at all, which was hilarious. But Aaron Rodgers showed what he can still do.
Yeah.
He still got it. Now, granted, the mobility is not there. He got sacked, I believe, 4 times, but he still got a really great deep ball, and he showed it.
Let me say this. Are the sacks his fault? Or are the sacks the line's fault?
It's a little bit of both.
Or could it be the coverage from the other team where he's got to hold it a little bit longer? There's a multitude of things that happen with the sack, right? You just can't always blame the quarterback. I will say those 2 quarterbacks in that game had a lot to prove.
Yeah,
because basically they were on the opposite teams.
Yeah, they swapped.
They swapped teams basically, and Justin Fields has probably felt like he's got a chip on his shoulder ever since he got released from the Bears. I was one of the top picks in that draft, and why am I not doing this? Why am I not doing that? So he's still got a lot to prove, and I think he has potential to be a good quarterback.
I will
However, in that game, holy cow, they played really well.
I know. I was shocked.
I didn't expect it out of Fields. Maybe every now and then you see that glimpse out of Aaron Rodgers, just because he's done it before. He's an MVP quarterback. He's won a Super Bowl. He's got the accolades. He's got the it still, even though he is 41. But can he do it for a full year?
Right, that's the thing. Like, I was worried, with those sacks he's taken, can he hold up for a whole season? Right. And, they showed that they might have a wide receiver, too, and Calvin Austin, who got 2 touchdown passes. DK Metcalf looked great. Jonnu Smith was promising. Now, they couldn't run the ball, basically at all, which was surprising because Steeler football is always about running the football, setting up the pass, kind of like Iowa. But they couldn't run the ball at all, and their defense, they have some big they paid some big name guys, and they allowed 32 points. So they still got some stuff to prove there. But overall, a win is a win, and considering the question marks with Aaron Rodgers, I'm optimistic.
One other thing to mention about the Steelers, Logan Lee did not play in that game. He was inactive, still apparently nursing that calf injury from last year. So hopefully he can get that all figured out and hopefully see the field at some point this year. All right,
then Caleb Johnson, only special teams.
Yeah, he was okay. So
we'll see how they use him this year.
We'll see how they use him. All right, you got one more team to talk about real quick.
Yeah, real quick. Cardinals kind of squeak past the Saints in a 20-13 win. I know no one from around this area is from Arizona, so I won't go too long.
Never know. It's not true. We met some people last night.
Oh, what about Peter Warner?
You're right. You're right.
Warner,
yes.
We met some people. So
My bad.
My
bad.
Yes.
But the Saints had a chance to win the game with like 15 seconds left, and a dropped pass in the end zone by their tight end could have tied the game.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't look great in terms of Kyler Murray. I still have question marks about him and that offense and Jonathan Gannon. Like, this is the prove-it year. You get a Week 1 win against the Saints, who you should beat by more. But, at least they won. But, I still am like, okay. It's like, we'll see that the Niners are hurt. The Rams look good. So it's going to be another interesting test. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Win is a win over the Saints. Sure. We'll see what happens going forward.
A win is a win at this point.
Yeah.
All right. 3-shot?
3-shot.
Let's talk a little fantasy football.
Oh, gosh.
All right, so Week 1 of our fantasy football league here at the station.
Bad.
I played Jonah. Jonah was supposed to beat me. Somehow my team won.
Okay.
Old guy beat young guy.
He came back at the end. Derrick Henry.
Young guy. Derrick Henry is huge for me. How'd you do?
Killed me. But she had Lamar Jackson and Zay Flowers.
Yeah,
I had my wide receivers were A.J. Brown, who got 1 point, and Scary Terry, who got 4. So I was not feeling too good. But then Baker Mayfield stepped up, 22 points. Garrett Wilson in my flex, 22 points. I was like, okay.
Great.
And then Lamar Jackson and Zay Flowers.
So a tough week for you in Week 1. Jonah's looking to bounce back from Week 1 as well. Let me ask you what happened in Week 2, Jenna.
It's going bad. It's going bad.
You are a Packers fan, and as any fan, you're going to eventually select somebody from your team just because you have to.
Yeah, but I
you selected
Tucker Kraft because I knew he was going to be a good get, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then this last week, he put up some good numbers, but then I have Dalton Kincaid, tight end for the Bills. They had that game against the Ravens. Kincaid had a lot of points. And I was like, okay, I'll just, it's early in the season. I was like, I'll mix it up. I'll put Tucker Kraft on my bench. I'm just going to stare at the camera. Why did I do that? He got 25 points. I got an ESPN notification for Thursday Night Football saying, it's the Tucker Kraft game. I was like, oh, my God.
You're like, of course
that
it is.
That just rubs it in.
I'm like,
oh, man.
Oh, it was so bad. And I was like, because it's early. I was like, I'll flip the tight ends out. I'll figure out who I want to, double down on. And I'm like, I was distraught. I was so sad.
I honestly think that's the hardest thing about fantasy football.
It's so hard. You never know who's going to go off.
You second guess yourself so many times.
I should have just left
You look at, okay, this person's supposed to get this point, but this person's playing this team, and this is this, and
projections are higher for this guy.
Yeah, it's so hard.
It never pans out. It's so hard to do.
I know.
And then when you do multiple leagues,
that's
what
I'm in.
I'm in 3 different leagues.
I'm in 3 as well.
You're in 3.
So bad.
Are you doing 2?
I'm just doing the one because I would
year?
always do a personal league. I don't have time for that. It's so hard. I'm like, I'm just going to do the one this year.
I actually won in all 3 of my leagues in Week 1, which was fantastic.
Oh, you got
Good
3-0.
I was 3-0 for that week. So that was great. We'll see what happens moving forward. But yeah, I mean, to me, fantasy football makes Sundays fun.
Oh, it's so fun.
Yes.
Then because you're rooting for some random team that you normally wouldn't care about because you're like, oh my God, again, when the Bills play, I'm rooting hard for Dalton Kincaid now, especially since Tucker Kraft. I'm going to be the biggest Kincaid fan.
You need to get 30 points from him.
Absolutely. So it's like, it makes it fun because you have a team that you normally wouldn't care about at all, and then you're like, oh my, their kicker. You're like, come on, it's great.
So what is the best part of fantasy football for you?
I mean, you name it's like me getting to root and care about games that I wouldn't normally care about.
Sure.
Yeah. That's pretty
for
much
me,
it.
I love the draft.
Oh, yeah. The draft
you like the strategy behind it,
And again, I have a philosophy. I'm not going to give away my
draft strat.
My draft strat.
Your draft strat.
I'm not going to give that away. However,
you should, because my team was rough. I need your tips.
I've been using it for years. Some years it works, some years it doesn't, because again, it's just a crapshoot on who's going to do whatever.
Yeah.
There was one year I had Marshawn Lynch, which just happened to be his MVP year. Great. I rode him all the way to a championship that year. The next year, I think I got 3 wins. It's so much fun, but it's one of those things that if you don't do it, it kind of makes Sundays boring.
Yeah.
Because all you have to look forward to is your team.
Exactly.
If they're not playing, you're like, okay, this is great, whatever. So.
Yeah, it's like, do I really care about Cleveland versus Carolina or
whoever.
Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't. But wait, I've got their running back. Of course I care. Who scored that touchdown?
Absolutely.
That's what matters. So,
dude, it's when the Eagles played on Thursday Night Football, and then like our photographer Caesar, who does a lot of sports betting, he's getting into it, but his bets aligned with my fantasy team. So every time something happened, we were both like, yeah, like because I have the Eagles defense. So when they had that like fumble recovery, I was going crazy. It was the best thing. You know, I did not get a lot of points from the Eagles defense. It's rough.
So, all right. So that's enough of fantasy, I think.
Yes.
Everybody, if you're playing fantasy football, do it responsibly. Enjoy it. Have fun with it. You don't want to get too.
How do you irresponsibly do fantasy football?
Caesar irresponsibly does fantasy football.
Yes.
Yes. I won't get into more of it than that.
Yeah.
We love Caesar.
We do.
So, hopefully, we will be able to do this a little bit more often. We'll try to do it Fridays for all things considered.
Tough.
Maybe on Sundays we'll try to figure it out. But yeah, we will definitely try to get this more. I believe this is episode 10. So if you've listened to all 10 episodes, we thank you for that. We appreciate that. And as I always say, if you have something you want us to discuss, talk about, whatever, if you have comments, concerns, questions, anything, send us an email.
We should do a mailbag episode.
Oh, that would be good.
That would be really
If you want to know something about us personally or whatever, anything, send us an email at sports@wqad.com. Call the station, 764-8888. Anything. Just leave us a message. Somehow leave us a message. So we've had a lot of fun doing this episode. So for Jenna and Jonah, I'm Corey. Thanks for watching this episode of Beyond the Score.